Well, what a journey, folks. What a sensational journey. We have arrived. It is the grand finale. Round 7 of the GTOpen Championship here at Barcelona. 60 minutes of racing ahead of us at this 4.675 kilometer circuit. That's 2.905 miles. Broke ground back in 1989, opened up in 1991. 16 corners await the drivers. It's a challenging circuit, and whatever you can say about a championship, predictions aside, you will never expect. Be sure to expect the unexpected. That's certainly what was delivered in qualifying this morning. Nick Moss, it looked like it was all going to be over. An issue at the very start of qualifying, 3 minutes into the session, what a suspected fuel pump issue in that McLaren 720S. And after finishing qualifying and managing to get out on track because of mechanical intervention, he has now been handed a 5-place grid penalty. What that does give, though, is a bit of a boost, obviously, to the Benjamin Hites and, of course, the Leonardo Pulcini camp, obviously also chasing the title. A mere 8 points is what separates the two drivers at the top end of the order, and only one race left to decide who will become the International GTOpen Champion of 2022. It's an honor to be here calling this event, obviously here at the circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. No better location. My name is, of course, George Morgan. Thank you for joining us, as you have done all season long. Also joining me for this absolutely phenomenal grand finale is Ian Silvestrin. Ian, we have arrived.
We certainly have, George. Thank you. I'm excited for this one. It all comes down to this. We have crisscrossed the continent, and the sunshine has arrived here in Barcelona, along with the team. 26 cars on the grid for this, the championship final of the 2022 International GTOpen. We asked the question yesterday, a rhetorical question of sorts. Will the title go to McLaren or will it go to Lamborghini? And certainly after the events of the last 24 hours, it's looking as though it will go in favour of the manufacturer from Bologna in Italy. Klaus Bachler, though, for Porsche, he took pole position this morning, lapping the circuit in a time of 1:43.785 to take pole position alongside the pole, who missed out on pole, Carol Bash, out of grid 2 in the 777 Olymp Racing Audi. Great to see the crowd is building here. Thankfully, after the nightmare of the last 2 years, there was nobody, not even a ghost here, when we raced here 12 months ago. But the crowds are back. The grid is getting stronger and stronger. As you look at Glenn Van Berlo, who qualified grid 3 with a 1:44.147 this morning, with his final flying lap to start grid 3. He's also third in the championship. Alain Valente in the Mercedes, a 1:44.167, the outside second row of the grid. Really in great form all weekend. In fact, all season, Alain Valente in car 33 for Team GT, sharing the car with Florian Scholze. David Fulminelli was on provisional pole position for much of qualifying, in contention for the Pro-Am title, sharing it with the Turk driver, Murat Taradaroglu. Fulminelli to start the race, a 60-minute race, slightly shorter than yesterday's 70-minute race 1 here in the season final. Robert Renoir, the German veteran, has done so much GT racing over the past 12 months, sharing the car with Ralph Bond. If you missed race 1 yesterday, it was in the gravel in the first lap. Had to fight back. Let's hope they have a better run here this afternoon. Adam Christodoulou. There's Rima Tufali, the Saudi-British combination. Rima and Adam both giving us a wave. They'll start out of grid 7 for the Saudi Thiba Motorsport team. Steve Jans in the 911 Mercedes on grid 8, the outside fourth row of the grid. And then we go to the championship leader, Benjamin Hites, the Chilean from Santiago in South America, and Leonardo Pulcini. There is the 2016 Euro Formula Open champion. They are leading the championship by 8 points over the unfortunate McLaren duo, who, as George alluded to in our introduction, an issue in qualifying. They were parked at the end of pit lane, and they're down 21st on the grid. Al Faisal Al Zubair, they won the race yesterday. The Get Speed Mercedes, the Omani, the Middle East connection there with Rima from Saudi, wishing Oman driver Al Zubair all the best. Fabian Schiller sharing here the car with him. They won the race yesterday. What about Christian Korsanowski in car 5 on grid 11? Olymp Racing in the Ferrari, sharing the car with Stanislav Jedlinski. Alst Motorsport back with Max Hofer Starting grid 12, they finished 12th yesterday with a 5-second penalty. And Dino Steiner, the German-speaking drivers from Austria and Germany respectively, in one of a couple of Audis in the field. The sole Japanese manufacturer is the Honda, that magnificent NSX, the twin-turbo V6. You can buy that race car off the shelf if you've got around about €480,000 to spare. What a sight this is. We are ready for the championship final. Welcome to Barcelona here in Catalonia. We are about to decide the champion of the 2022 International GTOpen Series. 26 cars on the grid. It comes down to a fight between McLaren and Lamborghini. Lamborghini, the reigning champions, winning the title with Frederic Schandorf and Michele Beretta for Vincenzo Sospiri. Racing in 2021. They're not racing this weekend. The mantle being taken up by Oregon team in the Lamborghini, and they're 1-3 in the championship.
Well, highlights from race 1 yesterday, and it was a great jump from Fabian Schiller, who got off the line exceptionally well. In behind as well, Polcini also had a great run. There was a Spinala heading around the seat corner, where of course it would be Murat Sharanaroglu and Giuseppe Cipriani coming together. Same would happen as well to Florian Scholzer, who got spun after contact with the Optimum Motorsport team. Nick Moss also came together with that of Kevin Ghilardoni heading through the first sector. They eventually did right themselves though. Again, and the McLarens came together too with a Porsche on the outset heading through up through back Sambadel, and then heading in towards the latter stages of this next lap. It would be Nick Moss doing his best to try and bring the car home. But Fabian Schiller, absolutely unstoppable, took the checkered flag as well as Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. A great partnership that have certainly landed themselves on top. And here are the championship standings. Obviously, it's between two teams coming into this weekend. Benjamin Hites, Leonardo Polcini looking to battle against Joe Osborne and Nick Moss. 8 points is all that separates the two very, very notorious constructors. And we'll have to wait and see who will come out on top. Obviously, that's not the only battle that we're going to be witnessing here today. As I said, it's not the only battle we're going to be seeing today, because the Pro-Am title is also on the line. A mere point is all that separates them. But here is the starting grid. Klaus Bachler is starting from pole position with Carol Bash in second spot. Row 2 goes to Glenn Van Berlo. Great qualifying session to recover up to P3 alongside Alan Valente, who looked very quick as well this morning. David Fuminelli as well, qualifying strong in the Ferrari alongside Robert Renauer. A very impressive result as well for him too. P7 goes to Adam Christodoulou for Theba Motorsport, who lines up alongside Steve Jans from the Get Speed Performance team. P9, that goes to Benjamin Hites, the car that's battling for the title, alongside yesterday's winning car, Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, taking the seat this time. Christian Korzanowski was very impressive as part of the AM category. P11, P12 going to Max Herfer and Aus Motorsport. 13th, Francesco Guerra lines up alongside Michele Regolo, who we expected to be certainly at the sharp end after recent performances at Austria. Martin Conrad, the current AM champion, alongside Alexander Harakowina. Finley Hutchinson joins him on that same row in 16th place. Philip Sager in 17th, with Giuseppe Cipriani in 18th place as well for Lamborghini. In 19th goes to Dexter Muller in the SBS Performance Mercedes, alongside AF Corsa Ferrari driver Lauren DeMeus in 20th spot. 21st place, well, it's Nick Moss, who is also trying to battle for the title. Joe Osborne, of course, his co-driver. Kiki Sagnana starts in 22nd. 23rd, Greystone GT lining up at McLaren with Andrew Gilbert taking the wheel. Pascal Bachmann joins him at 24th place. Alex Villanueva in 25th, with Dr. Stephen Earle making up the numbers at the back end of the field. Well, very shortly, folks, we will be seeing the cars make their way off their grid starting positions. This is where certainly the nerves will start sinking in. Obviously, Benji Hites taking the helm for the first stint after qualifying this morning, as well as Nick Moss, who is also battling for the title. Klaus Bachler, though, what a performance from the start. I did mention as well the battle for the Pro-Am title. Of course, that is being settled between Karol Bash, Marcin Jedlinski, and Murat Sharanaroglu and David Fuminelli. 9 points between them. Of course, 10 points for a win in the Pro-Am. So 1 point away from securing that championship, Karol Bash and Marcin Jedlinski.
Really good.
We'll have to wait and see what they can do.
For us. We finished P2, we came back to P2, and today to finish the season with a pole position is really good. The car was very good like yesterday, also like in Monza, so I worked since long time now together with Dynamic Motorsport, so we really work well together. We know each other pretty good, and they did a great job. Gave me a perfect car. Honestly, it was like I wished for it, and in the end it was I think 2/10 or 1/10 in front, so it was in the end still a bit tight, but luckily we're on pole.
Yeah, Klaus Bachler very pleased indeed. Obviously, looking ahead to the race, he's got a great chance here. We saw them perform at Monza, Ian. They look so quick.
German-speaking drivers taking pole positions for races 1 and race 2 yesterday, the German and the Austrian. Klaus Bachler starting on pole. You mentioned the nerves, George. I'm not sure that Nick Moss will be nervous because they've had a rotten run in qualifying, a mechanical issue at the exit of pit lane, then a 5-place grid penalty. They're back in 21st, so they've got nothing to lose. It is looking good for Benjamin Hites, starting on the 5th row of the grid. The title to be decided here this afternoon at Barcelona, the 1992 Olympic city, home of one of the world's great football teams, the city immortalised by the late, great Freddie Mercury in the theme for those very Olympic Games back, what, 3 decades ago. We are ready to race over 1 hour. The checkered flag, we will have a new champion.
Absolutely right, indeed. Plenty on the line. Bachler is currently on top, and there's the provisional standings, folks. Benji Hites and Polcini, 125 points. Joe Osborne, 117 with Nick Moss. And Kevin Ghilardoni, 107 with Glenn Van Berlo alongside him, currently sat in 3rd place. Obviously still with P2 up for question. A lot can happen in racing, folks. As I said earlier, expect the unexpected. But now as the drivers crawl their way through the final parts of this circuit, through the chicane RACC, Klaus Bachler on the right, on the left is Carol Bash. As you see them now, we're riding on board with Adam Christodoulou as they now head around the final corner at New Holland, side by side between the pair as we await to go racing. The final race here in the International GT Open of 2022. Get ready, folks. It's going to be a stormer as they all line up now, trickling ever so steadily as we await the lights to go green. And for the final time here in the GT Open, we will certainly put pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go! Klaus Bachler leads the way, a great launch. Carol Bash and Glenn Van Berlo going side by side. Further down, Alan Valente, not done yet either, as we now look and see Robert Rednauer as well coming through alongside him in towards turn 1. Carol Bash in 2nd, holds back the force from Glenn Van Berlo. Alan Valente also in the mix. What a start from Robert Rednauer. I saw Nick Moss cutting away in towards turn 1, a little uncomfortable, but he's still in the game as we're now watching the cars make their way around. Bachler in 1st, Glenn Van Berlo defending that 3rd place. A very orderly start here in Silvestrin.
Perfect start from Klaus Bachler, the Austrian. From pole position, leads away from Carol Bash, and Glenn Van Berlo, GVB, goes position 3. Yes, you rightly pointed out, George, Nick Moss in the background. Let's hope he has not damaged the 72 McLaren, riding over the ripple strip on the outside of the circuit. A clean start, all 26 drivers making their way through. This is on board the championship contender, Nick Moss in the 72 McLaren.
Yeah, he is certainly just settling down now into a rhythm. The car's now nose to tail, nothing separates them. Obviously early stages, the gap thinner than a fly's eyelash as they now make their way through Kamsa Corner and the Lakea Bend. Klaus Bachler already making his way through turn 11, looking ever so quick on the outside of turn 10. They now rise up through back Sambadel. Oh, running very wide there. That's the... Oh, and there's Andrew Gilbert in the Greystone GT McLaren, taking a venture off the track.
On the same corner he went off in qualifying this morning, George.
Does, and just as he did earlier, does not hit the concrete barrier. So very well done indeed from him to keep control of the car to that certain degree. As now seen the theme of motorsport of Adam Christodoulou having to cut the chicane at turn 14 as they now hurtle around the New Holland corner, riding on board now with the theme of motorsport. Mercedes now making its way down this long straight, one of the longest straights we've seen this season in the championship, before they then hurtle through the first 2 corners at Elf Curve. Rima Jafali will be, of course, taking the mantle of this Mercedes later on when the driver change window opens at just over 21 minutes time, as we're now watching the cars climb up through. Don't forget the Pro-Am title on the line as well. David Fuminelli and Murat Charanaroglu fighting for that honour against Karol Bash and Marcin Jedlinski, as we now watch Klaus Bachler now send it through Repsol curve. Further down as well, many other cars battling. How about this though, as we now see Al-Faisal Al-Karim make his way through the next right-hander and does go clear of Benji Hites as well, holding back the tirade, and Hites not quite able to capitalise at that point around Repsol.
So in the second lap of the race, the championship leader, Benjamin Hites, loses a position there to yesterday's race winner. He's back in position 12. Where is Nick Moss? I hear you asking. At the moment, he's made up a single or two positions, in fact. He is in a position, now in fact, has gone 18th. So second in the championship, 18th on the road. We'll get a glimpse of the orange 72 McLaren in just a moment as you ride on board with the South American, the championship leader, Benjamin Hites. And this is on board with Adam Christodoulou. The difference between the screaming V10 of the Lamborghini and the 6.2-litre V8 on the Mercedes, just going down through the chicane now. They're about to complete the second lap of the race, just rides the ripple strip, does the Brit, lines it up and down the main straight here at Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely right now, powering down this long straight there. You can see Steve Jans closely followed there by Adam Christodoulou as they now head down towards turn one. Karol Bash getting right up close and personal there with Klaus Bachler heading in through turn 1 and 2. In behind there you see Glenn Van Berlo with Robert Rennauer as well. Further back, Alan Valente, David Fuminelli as well in the mix, with Viva Motorsport's very own Adam Christodoulou peppering the rear of Steve Jans' car as well. So now watching the Ferrari, Christian Korzanowski with a stunning display in qualifying this morning, topping the AM contingent. The nearest AM driver in this classification is Martin Conrad as part of the Team Landgraf man-filter Mercedes, which is being retired at the end of this season, after this race in fact. And Alexander Horakwina says it'll take pride and place at his homestead, that's for sure. He has a very fond sort of relationship with his car, loves the livery as well, and who doesn't? It does really stand out. Certainly in this sunshine that we have here in Spain, over 28 degrees, that is the temperature. You wouldn't think it's October. I tell you what, we have got suntan conditions here in this wonderful, wonderful place in Spain. As we now watch the cars now venture their way through the Campsa corner, very fast-paced portion of this circuit before then ducking deep into the Larkea bend. Used to be a lot heavier braking zone than this, a little bit more flowing these days, as we now see certainly the Viva Motorsport car with Max Herfer getting lovely and close as well in the Audi R8 LMS, getting so tight as they now creep up the inside. A little nudge of encouragement there going to Adam Christodoulou, heading down in towards the Europe car corner before they then venture into the chicane RACC, and Max Herfer sends it down the outside into the chicane. Unbelievable, we very rarely see a move like that, but pulling it off, a wonderful effort. Max Herfer executing as he heads around the final corner at New Holland.
Fabulous pass by Max Herfer to go by Adam Christodoulou, who was struggling, but he has to go defensive. There's Korzanowski on the outside. Will try and take both the Audi and the Mercedes. They're too wide into turn one. Max Herfer on the inside almost gets touched. In fact, he does by Christodoulou. Watch Korzanowski in the background, and right behind him, Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, yesterday's race winner. Well, the race is settling into a beautiful rhythm. This is the championship decider. A glorious day. Yes, it is October. What's the saying, George? The rain in Spain? Well, it doesn't fall in Barcelona this weekend. And we're settling in as we fight for the title for 2022. The championship leader, Benjamin Hites, still in position 12. Nick Moss has got by Giuseppe Cipriani. So there's just 5 positions between them. We'll get a glimpse of Moss momentarily. In car 72, he's in 17th. He might pick up another one because one of the Ferraris just ahead has just run off the road. That was Michele Rugolo in position 14, the Italian in 182 in the Ferrari. Great start by Klaus Bachler from Karol Bash. The gap is 0.7 of a second. As we take a look at the replay from the start, from pole position, Klaus Bachler simply accelerated. Karol Bash tried to go with him. Glenn Van Berlo, remember, he was almost last in qualifying this morning, went grid 3 with his final flying lap. Tried to sweep it down the inside, got on the brakes early, and this was the view from Nick Moss. There's one from grid 21. Sits in behind Philip Saga in the second Porsche, then goes to the inside of the circuit. What does Yuki Tsunoda say? It's traffic paradise. Down into turn 1 here at Barcelona. the championship on the line. So a conservative start for Nick Moss, who's now in 17th place. Runs off the road, though, right there. It appears he's just got away with that one.
Yeah, he did gain any time off that move into Elf Curve. You could understand why he did what he did. Obviously, there's quite a lot of traffic, as you alluded to. Certainly at a race start, we'd much rather see a car perhaps take the safer line as opposed to causing a collision. We certainly don't want any of those moments heading through the early stages of this race, especially when we've got a title on the line, as we're now seeing Adam Christodoulou, a little bit of contact, rubbing shoulders. In fact, I think that was Ben Jahites who was alongside him at that point, because Glenn Van Berlo, further up the road, is now watching this move, this dazzling overtake from Max Herfer heading through the chicane RACC. Well, in fact...
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, fair enough. We did not see that view.
We were riding on board. It looked great from inside the Audi.
It did. He looked tighter than that, to be fair. I mean, like, you couldn't see where the curve went because he went under the car, but... Well, he might be forced to give the position back. In fact, he has, actually. Yeah. Car 3 must give the position to car 18. Overtaking at turn 15, out of track limits. The steward stepping in there. So there we go, folks. Unfortunately for Max Herfer, not quite the dazzling overtake we projected it to be, but nevertheless, fair enough, saying the stewards. As we're now watching the cars now head out of Campsa Corner, we're then going to see them head down through the latter part of this circuit. Klaus Bachler now starting to raise the advantage. 1.2 seconds now between him and Carol Bash, with Glenn Van Berlo 1.1 seconds in third. Robert Renauer getting a wonderful start indeed. Now up into fourth. Safety car. Oh, dearie me.
Villanova.
That is Villanova, and he had a bit of an entanglement with the gravel in qualifying and has taken another detour into it today, and that's going to be a safety car. So safety car standing by. This is great news as well for Optimum Motorsport, because it brings them up into the fray as well, closes the gap together. There's Nick Moss, who we're currently seeing an early safety car here in this race. So 50 minutes to go, just over that in fact, and the safety car is out on track. Klaus Bachler now falling into order with Carol Bash, Glenn Van Berlo in third, Robert Renauer in behind him as well. Hites currently in 12th. Further back, Nick Moss in 17th. Has done well off the start, Nick Moss, I think, considering the circumstances.
Well, except for that slight incident over one of the sleeping policemen right there at the exit of turn 2. He's made up a few positions. There's the orange McLaren in the background as Frank War, Francesco Guerra goes through in the 99 Nova Race Honda. Klaus Bachler, a lead of 1.2 seconds over Carol Bash. It now evaporates. It's now 0. A relatively clean start. Of course, they want the race win. Every driver in this field, also the class win, but the championship. Moss going through. There's Cipriani just behind him. Saga, Laurent Demeus, Kiki Stagnana, Dexter Muller, Pascal Bachmann, 007 in the most colourful car in the world of GT racing, and goes by the 93 Mercedes of Alex Villanova, who has parked it in the gravel for the second time this weekend. 8 points the difference between Benjamin Hites, Leonardo Pulcini, and Joe Osborne and Nick Moss. And on the circuit, there's 5 positions. So 8 points, 5 positions. It looks as though Alex will be able to fire up the Mercedes momentarily, and we'll be back underway. It is a slightly shorter race. Yesterday, we raced for 70 minutes. Now it's 60 minutes. And it's just over 13 minutes until the pit stop window opens. Look at that machine. It is a work of art. The Aston Martin.
That's why it's called street art.
Of course.
There we have it. There we go. As we're looking at the cars coming on through now, obviously, just looking at that car that went off just now with Villanova behind the wheel, obviously sharing that with Daniel Diaz Varela. He actually won the AM category race last year. In fact, in race 1 and race 2. Unfortunately, it looks like that might be a struggle this time as we say hello
Jorge
Cabezas in the box there as well. But partnering Daniel Diaz Varela last season was Juan Font, who was actually taking part in the GT Cup Open, took the AM win yesterday when we went racing in GT Cup yesterday. We're due to go racing again in that this afternoon, but first of all, we've got an important title to decide in this race. So safety car conditions out on track. There we just see Nick Moss rolling on by, 17th place, just in behind Martin Conrad. Finlay Hutchison in his first appearance in the GTOpen this season, currently sat in 15th ahead of them, with Michele Regolo ahead of him too. Guerra in 13th, Ben Jahites, who's also fighting for the championship, Leonardo Pulcini's teammate. We're just seeing him in picture there, with the Honda just in behind him as well, driven by that of Francesco Guerra as well. Giuseppe Cipriani as well in behind too. As we're seeing some pan pictures here in the garages. Obviously a lot of watching on, a lot of pensiveness, I think, with the race and being undergone here. We were 11 minutes, well, over 11 minutes, just under 12 minutes away from the driver change window, and we will expect to see Joe Osborne taking the seat in the McLaren and Leonardo Polcini in the Lamborghini. So it's going to be a very spicy ending, I think, Ian.
It certainly will. The championship, it's looking good for Oregon at the moment. Still the early stages, just coming up to 1/4 race distance. As the Get Speed Mercedes going through, Adam Christodoulou, Korsanowski, yesterday's race winner, and the championship leader just ahead of the Honda. Here comes the McLaren, second in the championship. Gee, it's going to be a big ask. They really need a miracle here this afternoon. Not the best running qualifying, as the safety car prepares to pull into pit lane at the end of this lap. And once again, we will race green. So Moss in position 17, Benjamin Hitez 5 places up the road in 12th place. Oregon, who took a dominant 1-2 at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, a 1-3 at Monza. Unlikely they'll win the race at this stage. Sitting back in 12th, although still 3/4 of the race remaining. But they have got one eye on the championship. Do not discount Glenn Van Berlo in 3rd place. They were the championship leader.
Let's not forget there's a handicap penalty to be applied to Hitez's car. So when they make their stop for the driver change, an additional 10 seconds will be planted upon them. Now that offers a great opportunity for Moss and Osborne in order to perhaps sneak the advantage back as well, as we're now about to get ready for the end of the safety car. And we will get back underway very soon, I am sure, folks, as the green flag is being held by the stewards. Klaus Bachler obviously taking them around the final corner here as he puts the power down. And once again, we hit pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. Klaus Bachler leading the way. In behind as well, Carol Bash, Glenn Van Berlo in behind those, with Robert Renauer also getting a good start. Look at Max Herfer in behind as well, trying to defend against Adam Christodoulou, who goes down the inside, heading through towards turn 1. Christodoulou back up now into 8th place. Great move for Christodoulou. Further back as well, Christian Korsanowski with Al Zubair in 11th place. Benja Hitez in 12th, 6/10 in behind the other Mercedes there as well. As we're now looking further down as well, Guerra in 13th, Regolo 14th. They all go in tandem as they round the Repsol corner. Great launch indeed for Christodoulou, who overtakes Max Herfer. Great gain there into P8. Obviously, we did see they had to give the position back earlier on.
Clean restart here as we pass 1/4 race distance. Carol Bash, of course, he's got the disadvantage to some degree in terms of the outright victory. It's a Pro-Am combination. Carol is a world-class driver, and he has got an AMCO driver, with all due respect to Marcina Jedlinski, who has driven Superblue throughout the entire season, but they're up against the pro combinations, including this one of Nick Moss and Joe Osborne, who will bring the car to the checkered flag. They won the Pro-Am Championship in 2021. They're racing for the outright title in 2022. In the background there, yes, you rightly pointed out, that's a very good point, George. They will pick up 10 seconds on the 63 Oregon Lamborghini at the pit stops. Polcini and Hitez, Benjamin riding at the moment. The hopes of the Oregon team to hand over to Polcini, the 2016 Euro Formula Open champion. Korsanowski, the young Pole, continues to impress. He has had a stunning 2022 season, and he's currently running position 11 outright and clearly leading the AM category.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Korsanowski in 11th place further down. Benji Hitez in 12th. And Francisco Guerra in behind him too, as we now see the cars make their way down towards turn 1. Klaus Bachler still holding on to the lead. Carol Bash in 2nd place, currently topping the Pro-Am category. He will be Pro-Am champion should it stay like this. There is the Team Oregon, certainly the bosses at the desk as well. Been speaking to them this weekend, very much looking forward to seeing what they can do. Oregon very much enjoying partaking in the GTOpen, and it's great to have them here as well, as we see the cars come through now. This second sector very shortly. There is Christodoulou. And then behind Max Herfer, who has not left him alone. Obviously, those two have duelled already at the start of this race. It's been a pleasure to watch, to say the least. Further back as well, you've got Al Faisal Al Zubair in 10th spot. Of course, going back to the likes of Joe Osborne and Nick Moss, they, of course, won this race last year. And it was race 2 back in 2021 that they would lay claim to the victory, not only winning that overall race, but also taking the Pro-Am, well, no, in fact, they got pole position, should I say, but taking the Pro-Am win, should I say, as they now make their way through the next straight as well, up through Campset. Max Herfer will be right on board with, chasing down Adam Christodoulou before they then reach the Lakea Bend, the very progressive turn 11 corner.
Fabulous shots from on board. The second Audi in the field. The first Audi is Carol Bash, who's still in 2nd place. And as a replay of the start, he's once again lost 1.2 seconds, as he did off the start, the same behind as the safety car pulled into pit lane and we restarted for the second time. Robert Renoir, the German driver, ton of experience racing in endurance races, the BLN series. Quite a few starts in the Dubai 24-hour race. As Korsanowski goes through. This is the Audi in 9th place of Max Hofer. Down into turn 1. Adam Christodoulou covers off his line. The 6.2-litre Mercedes on the inside, the screaming V10 Audi right behind as they exit turn 2 and 3. This never-ending right-hand corner. Adam Christodoulou looks to be struggling with rear-end grip in the Theba Motorsport Mercedes. Early on in this final race of the season, there is Hofer all over the back of him, and yesterday's race winner from Muscat in Oman, it is Faisal Al-Zubair.
Yeah, Faisal Al-Zubair welcoming his return here in the GTOpen. Obviously a race win yesterday, and they look set to yet again continue their racy form. Currently in the top 10 and looking to push further on as they look to close on Max Hofer, who's very conscious of the fact that that Mercedes is getting so close. Get Speed fielding yet another car this season. Nick Moss, who we currently run on board with. Got a nice view here as we now take the ascent up the Wirth curve. Up ahead of him, Martin Conrad, the AM champion this season, as they now head towards the next right-hander, the swinging Kamsa corner. Very fast pace, back on the power straight away, Nick Moss, as he now heads down towards the Lakea bend at turn 10 into turn 11, rounding up through towards Bank Sambadel.
The car ahead of Martin Conrad is a young Scotsman, Finlay Hutchison, also driving for the Optimum Motorsport team. So if he can get by Conrad, George, I dare suggest that he'll have no problem getting by his young Scottish teammate.
You are not suggesting team orders here, Ian Silvestri.
Finlay, Nick is faster than you. Is there a sense of nostalgia in that statement?
Well, could well be. I mean, look, they're in the interest of winning it for the team as well, I'd imagine. So there's definitely something on the line for Optimum Motorsport. I'd imagine there will certainly be some calls on the radio. We'll have to wait and see, though, as time goes on. He's got to get past Martin Conrad
exactly,
first.
Who's not making the job easy at the moment as they come racing down into turn 1. There is Conrad in the background. This battle between Max Hofer and Adam Christodoulou continues on. And yesterday's race winner, Faisal Al-Zubair, that is a pro entry. They're in just behind in, what, 11th position? No, 10th place at the moment. Korsanowski, there is the second Olymp Racing entry, just behind in P11. Hofer, who looks good in the Audi. And again, a slightly wide line. He is certainly struggling for traction in the Theba Motorsport Mercedes. 8 Mercedes AMG GT3 cars in the field for this, the championship final, including the black and white machine just behind, which won race 1 yesterday. Hofer down the hill in the V10 Audi. Rides the ripple strip. There's Korsanowski in the background with the championship leader breathing down his neck in the form of Ben Jahides, on board with Max Hofer. Again, Christodoulou is struggling to turn in the Theba Motorsport car. That is a setup that does not seem to be working, but still Max Hofer cannot get by the Saudi-owned Mercedes.
No, he looked a little bit untidy heading out of Lakea Bend. Adam Christodoulou did leave a little gap, I think, and Max Hofer did think about exploiting it as well, as we can now see the two cars venture through the chicane RACC. Max Hofer looking dialed in, got a lovely exit out of the chicane RACC as we see the pair's onboard cameras heading down the long straight now here at Spain. Can Max Hofer unleash the power in that Audi? It looks like the straight line speed does favour the Mercedes somewhat heading down through towards turn 1. Hofer needs to pull something together in the corners, in through turns 1 and 2 in order to set something up in the first sector as they head on through now. You see the brake lights blinking on that Theba Motorsport Mercedes as they make the climb through turn 2 now round Renault corner before they then head down towards Repsol with just over 38 minutes still to go. Klaus Bachler still out on top. There you can see once again Max Hofer having a look down the inside, just showing himself in the mirrors of that Mercedes ahead. The Theba Motorsport team watching on, I'm sure, as Christodoulou shows exactly why he is a class act behind a GT3 wheel, defending to the hilt here against the young Max Hofer, who has certainly been looking to great effect to bring some big results to the House Motorsport Audi team. And I'm sure Dino Steiner will be pulling for him to make a move, but you've got to be wary. Faisal Al-Zubair is in behind, and he looks just as menacing.
He's just waiting, of course. That is a pro entry. Max Herfer has clearly got the speed to get by because the car, they've obviously set it up. It seems to be that they're hoping that the track rubbers in because it's struggling to turn in, struggling to get the power down as Jorge Cabezas in the background. Wow, a wild ride for the Spaniard. Almost puts the Honda into the gravel as Herfer continues to hound the back of Christodoulou. And we are just a moment away, in fact 90 seconds from the pit stop window opening. What that means is the likes of Carol Bash and David Fuminelli, who are currently 2nd and 6th respectively, they're the pro drivers in the Pro-Am combination. Expect them to take it right to the end of the pit stop window. The pro drivers, no problem. They'll pit when they want. We are just a minute away from the pit stop window opening for the final time in 2022. Backler down the straight, the gap is 2 seconds to Carol Bash. Then we go to Glenn Van Berlo. Robert Renoir is doing a superb job in P4. Alain Valente on your screen for Team GT in position 5. And Fuminelli, who will hand over to Murat Chiradaroglu. They're 2nd in the Pro-Am category at the moment in the championship, 4th in the race here this afternoon. Steve Young, Sebastian Bolt. We get a glimpse of the pink Mercedes 911. There it is in the background, going through ahead of Christodoulou, Max Herfer and Faisal Alzabao. That battle that we have been following for the last few laps. 30 seconds from the pit stop window opening, so we may see cars duck down into pit lane at the end of this lap. I can see the Oregon team, they are preparing for an early stop.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either, because they'll want to get Polcini in the car. They know his pace, of course. What can we say about that young man? He's been absolutely tremendous this season. Of course, a former Euro Formula Open champion to boot as well. He is also in Lamborghini Super Trofeo a champion in 2021 with 5 wins. He has got pedigree here at this level as well, as we're now seeing the cars wind their way up through. There's Nick Moss, who he, of course, I'm sure will be subbing in for Joe Osborne as well as they make the climb up through towards Campsa.
Georgia may be at the end of this lap. We can see Leonardo Pulcini down in pit lane. The Optima Motorsport team are also getting ready. Here we go, folks. Stand by. This race is on. The championship is alive, and the pit stop window is now open. Pit lane is about to turn into peak hour here in Barcelona right now.
Let's not forget the 10-second penalty that is going to be applied to the handicap, of course, belonging to that of Polcini and Heates. They've got to execute, obviously, under those circumstances. Let's wait and see what happens, as we're now seeing more cars venture their way down the straight, and in they come now. We're seeing cars come in.
Al-Faisal
Al-Zubair in as well. Heates is also, I believe, coming in too. There we can see them. Yep, Fabian Schiller also getting ready to jump in the car. There you can see further down, you got Nick Moss. Is he coming in? I think he is. He is coming in as well. So we've got both the championship contenders coming in to make changes. The question is, how is that penalty, the handicap, going to affect things now during the stop? There you can see Joe Osborne. He's literally ripping Nick Moss out of the car there, getting ready to jump straight back in. This is how much it means to these guys as they then get the new sets of boots onto the car, currently up onto the jacks. Eventually they'll slam it straight back down again. You can see there Al-Faisal Al-Zubair jumping out, just strapping in Fabian Schiller, who was outstanding yesterday in race 1, careered away with the lead at that point during the race. We're here with the battle now with Alain Valente, Robert Rennauer as well. That's for 4th on track right now, as we see the Greystone GT, Andrew Gilbert jumping out too, and Fran Rueda will jump in the car himself as
Osborne's out.
And Osborne, he has left the pit lane. He's beaten them out. Osborne has gone ahead of Optima Motorsport. A big moment here in this race in the GTOpen, and we've got the 2 drivers considered the pro contenders in this eventuality. They're both pro cars, but we both know the histories of Joe Osborne and that of Leonardo Polcini as well. There is the McLaren 720S in behind the Lamborghini, literally riding his rear wing. We're on now for a battle for the title. It's Osborne ahead of Leonardo Polcini as they head in towards turn 1.
Here we go. George will pick. That 10-second penalty has hurt the Oregon team, but not by too much. They've rejoined. Would you believe they were 12th and 17th before the stops, and now there's only, what, 30, 40 metres between the McLaren and the Lamborghini. They're 2nd and 1st on the road in that battle, but they're 1st and 2nd in the championship. Laurent Demas has also gone down into pit lane to hand over to Johnny Molam. The Brit has taken the wheel of the AF Corsa Ferrari, but this is the battle we want to watch. Klaus Bachler has stayed out. He is leading the race. Joe Osborne, the race of the Brit's life, the 30-year-old from England, as you ride on board with Polcini. Good outlap from Joe Osborne. He's already put what, 30, 40 metres between himself and the Italian. McLaren versus Lamborghini.
I can tell you this now, Ian, he's already gone out by 2 seconds. He is absolutely flying, but the key point is it's not necessarily time, it's the points gap. Remember, there's 8 points in between that of Polcini and, of course, the Optimum car as well. Let's watch this little battle here. Now, that is the Get Speed car, of course, driven by Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. Now, this was the Escape heading out onto the circuit, and there you see Polcini right in behind the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, leaving the pit bay, and there you see the screaming going on there. The Oregon team know how much this means. Everything here is coming down to the wire for the title. And there is Joe Osborne. As I said before, he's absolutely flying. He's putting everything into this right now. The gap now out to 2.5 seconds near enough. Osborne absolutely flying with Polcini in behind as well. But like I said, 8 points is the difference. He needs to do something about that. Otherwise, you can kiss the title goodbye.
Very simple lip reading there from the Oregon team. The Italian team simply screaming, vai, vai, which literally translates quite simply to go, go, and they have to do that. Joe Osborne, a fantastic outlap. Position 15 overall, and position 16 overall. Giuseppe Cipriani, well, he was minding his own business. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, yesterday's race winner. In fact, it's Fabian Schiller, of course, who has taken over the wheel of the Get Speed Mercedes. Jorge Cabezas down into pit lane. The Honda, the sole Japanese entry, they were having a good run in the top 10. Just dropped down to 11th with that. So, wow, first and second in the championship in just a half an hour. We will know who will take the title of GTOpen for 2022. $1.5 million US buys you the Japanese supercar, the sole entry, Nova Race. What about 460,000? I don't know what that is in your in
Is
British
that all,
pounds.
Ian? Is that all? Is that all? Oh, I know what I'm getting for Christmas.
It's a magnificent car, though. Great to see the Honda in the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. We're just watching the cars. They make their way through. Of course, Klaus Bachler getting the start of his life and still leading the way. He's now spread the advantage out to 4.5 seconds. Obviously, in all the conversation about the championship, we've almost forgotten about Klaus Bachler up in the front, but he's been sensational, to say the least. 4.7 seconds in front of Carol Bash, who is certainly a very pacey contender as well. Glenn Van Berlo, the other Oregon car, in a podium spot as well. 3rd place overall, with Robert Renauer in 4th too. And he's within a second of that Oregon car, with Alan Valente also in the mix in 5th. They're all battling for that 3rd place. Then with a gap to Steve Jans, who is 4 seconds back, with Adam Christodoulou just in behind him too. 7.5 tenths of a second is all that separates them, with Max Herfer still very much dueling with them. As we're now seeing the cars make their way down this long stretch. Yannick Mettler now behind the wheel of the SPS Performance Mercedes car. Of course, celebrating a win already this season in absolutely gargantuan fashion. And such a great story too, as we're now seeing, nonetheless, than that of the Olymp Racing Audi coming up through the initial sector as well. Obviously, they're battling for the Pro-Am contendership. We'll see how they get on.
George, David Fuminelli has elected to come in and hand over to Murat Chiradaroglu, whereas Carol Bash has elected to stay out. So that is why there is a big difference between the two leaders in the Pro-Am category, in the Pro-Am Championship. Carol Bash just needs a single point. This is his teammate. Very unusual for a racing team to run 2 different manufactured cars. In GT, of course, Hemel Racing, they ran a Lexus and a Jaguar off memory for a couple of seasons. It's a big operation. 1 Audi and 1 Ferrari. 4 Polish drivers, and they're currently in positions 2. 2nd place, the race leader, though, on your screen, Klaus Bachler, starting to come into traffic. There is last year's AM champion. Just ahead of him, the Venetian from Harry's Bar in Venice, Giuseppe Cipriani. Car 8, the Lamborghini, having a good run here in the championship final. Cipriani is in position 18 outright, just behind Bashar Mardini, the Kuwaiti. This is Carol in 2nd place.
Yeah, Carol Bash still holding on to that 2nd place. Now the gap is spread out to 5.1 seconds. Behind that, Klaus Bachler. Glenn Van Berlo, 3 seconds in behind him as well. There's the AF Corsa in behind that he's just lapped as well. That's Johnny Mowlem, who's taken the wheel of that particular car. Flash of the lights now. A twinkle from Bachler. He now heads down the next straight. Of course, catching up with car number 8, belonging to Giuseppe Cipriani as well. as they head down in towards turn 1. Dynamic, of course, enjoying a great run of form lately. You can see the other Dynamic car as well further up too. Of course, Klaus Bachler, part of the contingent, alongside Riccardo Casaniga, after taking a victory at Monza last time out. They are a team in great form. One can only imagine what they could have achieved this season had we seen them all season long, no doubt contending alongside the likes of Oregon team, and also very much the likes of Optimum Motorsport, as well as Steve Jans comes into the box. Sebastian Bau will then step into the car in his stead. So lots of movers and shakers in the midway through the field. We got 3.5 minutes to go in the driver change window, and plenty of cars still yet to come in, Ian Salvestrin.
Sebastian Bau, the young French driver, a former race winner in French Formula 4. They've had a fantastic season as you look at Klaus Bachler fighting with the traffic here. Mardini just ahead, who's also racing. Oh, wow. Giuseppe Cipriani does not care. Having his own race, doing the race solo. Mardini in the second Dynamic Motorsport car, the Kuwaiti. The nation, which was, well, a very different place to in 1990 when someone decided to visit their neighbour, now boasts Kuwait Motor Town, one of the finest Grand Prix circuits in the world. Home circuit of Barhara Mardini, who joins us for the championship final. Sebastian Bau getting back to the young French driver with Steve Jans, the French and Luxembourgish combination. There is Mardini. In fact, there's Bachler. There's Mardini going through in the foreground. So Klaus Bachler down into pit lane. Here we go, the race leader. And here is the traffic. The 44 Greystone McLaren. They continue their fight, and the race leader down into pit lane. Riccardo Casaniga, also another Euro Formula racer from the GT Sport organisation Euro Formula F3 series. Riccardo to step in, Klaus to step out. The Austrian-Italian combination driving the German supercar from Stuttgart here in Spain for the championship final.
Yeah, Riccardo Casaniga now stepping into the car. We all know what he can do. Very, very quick driver as part of this pro contingent. Further down as well, Robert Reinauer coming in after a great first stint as well. Ralph Bone then taking the seat with the new boots being put on the car. In comes Martin Conrad. Alexander Rakowina will be stepping into the car now very, very shortly. A car that has gifted them the AM Championship this season in tremendous style as well. They have driven so consistently all season long as they now get the belt from Martin Conrad. Alexander Rakowina ready to step in his shoes now and take the car the rest of the way as we count down to the final 25.5 minutes left in this race, as we now see the cars make their way down through towards the next left at Lakea. Further back you can see Yannick Mettler. Further back Karel Bash, who has got Gianni Maulam in behind him there, as you can see in picture. Further back, there is Polcini in the distance as well. Now, just a note here on Joe Osborne, he has gone so much further here again. He's managed to pull out a 4.8-second advantage ahead of Leonardo Polcini. He is absolutely flying right now, and there he is in picture here.
Coming down into turn 1 as the former race leader now being driven by Riccardo Casaniga. The current race leader is Karel Bash, staring at the clock because the driver change ends in 50 seconds. So Karel Bash, yes, will have to pit at the end of this lap. They have taken it right to the limit. In position 1, leading the race from Poland in the 777 Olymp Racing Audi. And Karel down into pit lane for the final time. He completes his final meters in the GTOpen International Championship. There he is in the middle of your screen. The Olymp Racing team will go to work. Ben Burlow in the background as well to hand over to Kevin Gilardoni. This is the driver trying to take it to the checkered flag and somehow still win the championship. It's looking good for their teammates. This is almost inevitably going to be the Pro-Am Championship winning car. The Polish combination, Max Herfer down in pit lane, hands over to Dino Steiner. The two Audis in pit lane right at the moment. Michele Rugolo also hands over to Willem van der Worm. They've worked their way up into sixth place outright, and there is confirmation at the top of your screen. That is the end of the pit stop window. Rima Jufali taking over from Adam Christodoulou in the Saudi-owned motorsport racing team Mercedes. Fires up car 18, and Rima's back in the race. So we've got, what, 20 plus minutes to race in 2022. Joe Osborne, the race of his life. He's in position 10, will pick up a few places now. That's a fabulous ride from Joe Osborne, the 30-year-old Brit. The Englishman comes down the straight in the British supercar. Steve Jans just there. A flash of the lights in 911. So there is Joe Osborne, has come out in position 8. Fighting there with Ricardo Cataniga, and will try and make a move on the Porsche, who started from pole position. This has been a brilliant try from Joe Osborne. The McLaren behind the Porsche, the title is on the line. Leonardo Pulcini back in 10th place. Joe Osborne now up into 6th, ahead of Rima Jufali. That's a fabulous stop. Also from the FIBA Motorsport team, Rima taking over from Adam on your screen behind Joe Osborne.
Yeah, I tell you what, Joe Osborne in a very good position, but obviously don't forget the points gap, folks. 8 points coming into this event, but nevertheless, if you want a steady pair of hands behind the wheel of a car, Joe Osborne is your man. 4th in the GT category in Asian Le Mans back in this year, in fact, 2022. 3rd in Pro-Am, 4 wins, and 1 overall win in GTOpen last year with a 4th Pro-Am and 2 wins, and 1 overall win in GTOpen back in 2020. A winner in GT4 Dubai, 24 hours in 2012, and GT4 European champion with 2 wins back in 2009. He's got an accomplished CV, and he's bringing it again, not only in other areas of championships, but here in the GTOpen as well. Very successful here in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren, but against an equally feisty contender as well, the likes of Leonardo Pulcini down the inside. Sebastian Bau, as he now screams past that of the other Mercedes further back as well, the Team GT car, as it makes its way around this next right-hander. Of course, that was driven by Alan Valente as well yesterday, and as they make their way down the stretch now towards turn 1.
Actually a move for 3rd place here, going by Florian Schulze, who's dropped back to 4th. So Sebastian Boll up into position 3. Joe Osborne on the outside of Rima Jufali on her outlap. There's Ricardo Cataniga going through, and Joe Osborne on the outside cuts back to the inside. The race of his life, Joe Osborne trying to take the title.
He's not wasting any time at all, Ian. Look at this dazzling overtake here as they headed through turn 1 and turn 2. Just streaks past there, Rima Jufali, and goes on chasing as they now work their way through. There we can see Sebastian Bau taking Florian Schulze. That was for 3rd place overall right now. And Seb Bow taking over from Steve Jans in the pit stop phase. Very well executed heading into the final chicane, and that's how you do it. There's a little bit of stress in the Team Oregon camp, I think, right now.
A little bit, a little bit. Italians are known for being, what, Finnish, Swedish, like calm? No, it's a very emotional down in the Oregon team. And as you get a look at the points as it would stand, wow, Hites and Pulcini would take it by 2 points. Meanwhile, the car on your screen, Ralph Bond, at the end of all that, 2/3 race distance, he's leading the race.
Incredible. They had a great stop indeed, and they've worked their way up into a position to lead, so it's incredible, really.
And they were in the gravel in qualifying 1 for race 1 yesterday. What a comeback for Herbert Motorsport.
Almost a phoenix rising at this point here and at the top end now, but they have got Kevin Gillardoni right behind as well. We just saw the points gap as well, whereas Gillardoni won't be in a position right now to take the title. Obviously, every point counts, and every race win counts as well. And Kevin Gillardoni, who's now a 1/10 of a second behind, is going to room up on the Porsche that currently leads this race in the Lamborghini, hurtling down towards turn 1. Look at the engine scream past now the pit lane, and Kevin Gillardoni, a flash of the lights. He has a look down the inside as he makes his way through turn 1. No, not quite this time. Ralph Bone doing a great job to hold on to that advantage. Still behind Gillardoni in 2nd. He's going to keep pressing the advantage though, keep showing that speed. He's brilliant in the corners. Seb Bow as well in 3rd place, only 2.3 seconds behind. He's already cleared Florian Schulze by 2.1 seconds. Here comes Gillardoni, again another look down the inside, but just can't quite unlock the door that is Ralph Bone.
He might do it now because Ralph has gone very wide. Gillardoni down the inside. And Oregon team, they go back to P1 in the race. They're also P1 in the championship with the other car, Joe Osborne, the race of his life. He's in position 6, the McLaren. It was at the end of pit lane in qualifying this morning. They started grid 21. Joe Osborne up into position 5 as Jedlinski loses a place on the outlap there as you ride on board with Pulcini.
He had to do it, had to make the move. It was crucial.
That was for 8th.
It was absolutely crucial. Needs to try and regather the positions. And now once again the replay of Kevin Gillardoni executing a brilliant move into the C corner. And once again the Team Oregon team watching on. Obviously, you're still in front, chaps. It's all okay. 126 points now. The gap has increased to 3 from where we last saw it. Fran Rueda now looking at Giuseppe Cipriani as they make the climb up through Earth Curve. Oh, very close between him and Johnny Maulam as well. Heading on the outset, the AF Corsa Ferrari through Kampsa. Jumps ahead there as well. Gets past there. Giuseppe Cipriani holds on to that 19th place. Fran Rueda up into 18th as well. Kazaniga in 4th. He's managed to get past Florian Scholzer as well. Osborne, no doubt, will want to do exactly the same. As I said before, every position counts in the context of this World Championship. There is Scholzer of the Team GT Mercedes. Joe Osborne not wasting any time. Has a look down the inside, not quite. Hasn't quite got the entrance route now. It's important he gets past. Remember, he's been tracking Kazaniga since he's come out of the pit lane. Rounding now through this next right at Renault Curve. Scholzer providing a very tangible barrier in between the pair of them as they now head down towards the next right now at Repsol. Far from done yet, Joe Osborne, as they round this next right. They will, of course, have the seat, and very much like Kevin Gillardoni did earlier on, I'm sure Joe Osborne has very similar ambitions on his mind as they head down now into that next left. Squeezes now down into the next left. A wonderfully executed move by the Brit. Joe Osborne now moves ahead into 5th spot, and once again will chase down Kazaniga, albeit though he has lost, well, quite a few tenths of a second. He's now back 1.2.
On the go is Joe down the inside, was coming from a mile back as you ride on board with Leonardo Pulcini, who does likewise to Rima Giuffali. So Joe now up in a P5, and the championship order is changing virtually every lap. There is now 3 points in it if something happens to Pulcini, and this incredible drive from Osborne. They would take the title, but at the moment, Pulcini just needs to stay with him touching distance. As you get the view from Remo Giuffali, Pulcini just has to stay somewhere near the McLaren and they will win the championship. But Kevin Gillardoni, the teammate, the second Oregon car, and I don't say it's second in a matter of order, but there's 2 cars in the field, have been second all weekend. They're second in the championship as far as the Oregon team are concerned, but they're E1 in the race.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now we see back with Sebastian Bau, who's now closing up to Ralph Bohn, now heading in towards turn 1 now. The Mercedes gets speed. Going hunting again, not quite able to do it through turn 1 and 2 at Elf Curve. Fran Rueda jumps ahead of Alexander Hrakoina for that 16th spot. Hrakoina now leading the AM category once again, showing that consistency in that Mercedes. What a way to end the season it will be for them. AM champions and taking the last race win of the season as well. Heading through now this next right. Still, Sebastian Bau knocking at that door of Ralph Bohn as they now head down. Taking a favourable inside route, though, is Sebastian Bau. This could open the door into the seat curve. Not quite able to unlock the door just yet, though. Ralph Bohn proving to be a little bit tougher than what Sebastian Bau might have first thought. But now Gillardoni, with all this battling, 2.6 seconds clear in front.
George, we have to give some credit to Marcin Jedlinski. He had a rough outlap after taking over from Carol Bash, actually coached by Carol as well, but now he's holding his own in position 9 outright. They've dropped to 4th in the Pro-Am category, but a couple of points and they will take the Pro-Am championship as this battle continues on. There is the Pro-Am title on the line, so they would do it comfortably from Rima Giuffali and Adam Christodoulou. The Pro-Am category, they're actually at the moment in 3rd place, the race being led, the Pro-Am race being led by the Ralph Bohn 92, Robert Renweiler, Herbert Porsche, which is in 2nd place on your screen. Sebastian Bau, Steve Jans misses the apex ever so slightly. That time does Ralph Bohn. They accelerate as they come out to the final quarter. We're into the final quarter of the final race of 2022. The 2 marks from Germany, Porsche from Stuttgart, and also the Mercedes behind. There's 8 Mercedes in the field, 3 Porsches. They're running in 2nd place with the Porsche. It may well be 3rd as Sebastian down the inside. Ralph goes in deep, holds him off for the moment. Here comes Sebastian Bau, the young French driver up the inside. The Herbert Motorsport Porsche holds him off just for the moment, all behind Ricardo Kazaniga. Is coming and coming hard. There is the 24 Porsche, which started on pole position after qualifying P1 this morning for the championship final here in Barcelona. Up the inside, Sebastian Bau sideways under acceleration, dives down the inside, and the Mercedes passes the Porsche. Sebastian up into position 2. fabulous pass, and watch Ricardo in the background coming for the both of them.
Absolutely right. Kazaniga now watching all this unfold further back. Joe Osborne also coming into picture, is closed up to Kazaniga now within 2 seconds, as we're seeing Fabian Schiller, who has just made a superb double overtake. He got past Ben here, and also Cabeithas as well for that 10th place, and has gone clear as now the other Optimum Motorsport car tries to find its way through. Michael Bennett here looking to make it 2 McLaren cars as part of Optimum in the top 10, of course, and all 3 cars here in this battle are pro contenders as well, as they now round this next right-hander down through towards what will be their Lakea bend. We're now watching back as we see Kazanega make his way through the next right-hander now, trying to get closer to Ralph Bone. Of course, he's managed to reel that time in almightily there as well. Joe Osborne trying to get himself into the mix. That gap has sprung out to 2 seconds, but I can't imagine it staying that way for too much longer. Kazaniga now heading through this next right-hander, and as he does so, you can see him there just literally tracking Ralph Bone at this point, 2/10 away, and you'd imagine that that Porsche with the straight line speed available to it, punching a hole this point as well. Ralph Bone as Kazaniga, a flash of the lights as he heads through towards turn 1. The Dynamic Motorsport car, mean green, up into 3. It is a fighting machine. It's now in the top 3, and now Kazaniga makes his way through. Joe Osborne next on the list, who is yet to face Ralph Bone here in this initial stint with 12 minutes to go. That was an attractive move.
Let's watch down the inside. Just did not push the brake pedal until he was up the inside. Porsche versus Porsche, and in a moment you'll just get a glimpse. In fact, you're right on board with Joe, who watched this happen. They both lose a little bit of time, a few tenths of a second, as they trade positions down into turn 1. Joe Osborne, position 5. If he can get another position past Ralph Bone, so we quickly try and do some mathematics. There is the number 5, Olympic Racing Audi, just being passed. Stanislav Yadlinski behind the wheel. Well, that will change the championship order once again. Just over 10 minutes remaining. Credit also has to go to Michael Bagnaia, the American-born Belgian Moroccan, the young driver who's really stepped up to the plate this weekend. Just a position outside the top 10, in fact, in 10th position. In the background, George, I vaguely remember seeing him race in the Rotax World Kart Racing Finals, New Orleans, back in 2000 and I reckon it was 13. He finished about 5th or 6th, drafted into the Optimum Motorsport team for the championship final. He's in the top 10, doing a superb job behind yesterday's race winner, Fabian Schiller, and with Jorge Cabeithas in the Honda just behind him. Car 4, great drive from Michael Bagnaia.
Absolutely superb drive indeed. Here is a big moment heading through the seat curve. Oh, a little tap there. Oh, and that was Stanislav Jedlinski getting very up close and personal. You can just see there in behind. I mean, that was Kazanega earlier on. But now further back, we can see that Joe Osborne has already caught up with Ralph Bone. Obviously, this is going to be a true fight, this one now, because Joe Osborne knows that he needs every position possible to try and fight for this championship, try and leave nothing to chance. Obviously, a lot on the table here. Polcini is coming. He's already overtaken Florian Scholze and Rima Jafali. He's had to negotiate his way past there, of course, to Ferrari as well, as we're now seeing the cars now work their way through the next right. Polcini is on his way. There's Joe Osborne now, rounding Repsol curve, obviously trying to get past Ralph Bone. Not to mention Ricardo Kazaniga, who is now in P3 as things stand. Kevin Gillardoni leads this race. Team Oregon with 1 car in P1 for the one that's fighting for the championship. That's Polcini. He's in P6.
Stand by, 10 minutes to go in the final race of 2022. As long as Leonardo Polcini can get by the 2 Porsches as well, which looks as though Joe Osborne, he'll get by them both and up onto the podium. If Polcini doesn't, we're quickly trying to do the mathematics. McLaren would take the title, but if Polcini can stay with him, well, the title would go back to Lamborghini with Team Oregon. They're leading the race with Kevin Gillardoni. Car 19 in position 1, 4.2 seconds ahead of Sebastian Boll. Will he become a factor? There's just 2 seconds between himself. Kazaniga in the first Porsche. Then it's Ralph Bone. Joe Osborne has to get by not 1 but 2 Porsches, possibly. Can he hunt down and pass the Mercedes as well? Well, as long as Polcini does likewise, Polcini would take the title. It will be tight. This is turning into a nail-biter. The gap is 3 seconds between Osborne and Polcini. Made that 2.5. You can account that for traffic. There is Ralph Bond in the 92 Porsche down the inside. Nicely done. Joe is on the go. The McLaren goes up into P4, goes deep. Loses a little bit of momentum, but he will not lose it on the out curve. On the exit of the corner, he's up into 4th place. Ralph Bond back to 5. That's critical for Leonardo Pulcini. Here comes the Oregon Lamborghini in the background. There is the championship leader as it stands right now with 8 minutes 30 left on the clock. He would take the title by a single point. Down into turn 1, Joe Osborne, the Brit, with the drive of his life, the reigning Pro-Am champion combination. Nick Moss, a fabulous start. Remember, they started back on grid 21. They are carving through the field like a hot knife through butter. Down the inside, Joe Osborne up into 4th place. There is Nick. Done a superb job. Should be very proud of yourself. Whatever happens in the remaining 8 minutes, Nick, together with Joe Osborne, they are a world-class combination. Whether they take the title here this afternoon, we'll know in about 7.5 minutes. Pulcini position 6 with Benjamin Hitez. The Chilean from Santiago in South America, a victory in Monza in 2021 in pouring rain. Well, here in Spain, the rain is not falling here in Barcelona for the championship final of the International GTOpen Series. They start lap 29. Gilardone across the line, the gap 3.9 seconds. And then Cazzaniga, the Dynamic Motorsport. There is Pulcini. He's closing in on the back of Ralph Bond, who was in 2nd place. You can see the rear wing of the Lamborghini just vibrating with tremendous force as he accelerates out of turn 3, putting 600 odd horsepower down onto the circuit, the 4.5 kilometre circuit here in Barcelona. Through the Michelin tyres, Cazzaniga going through. There's Joe Osborne. Very wide on the turn, and it just hanks on the steering wheel. The McLaren 720. The second McLaren racing car after the 560. Had so much success in the last part of the decade. The new model, the 720, over the last couple of seasons. They're in P4, but it counts for nothing if Pulcini gets by Bond. Just over 6 minutes remaining. You're riding on board with the championship leader, the former Euro Formula Open champion from 2016. A single victory in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. That was 2019 at Silverstone. Closing in on the back of Ralph Bond. Listen to the Lamborghini scream. Cazzaniga going through. There is Joe in the McLaren from grid 21. What a drive from the Brit in the British supercar. The team from the Kings England in position 4, trying to take the Pro-Am Championship in 2021 and the outright GTOpen International Series a year later in this 2022. Just over 5 minutes to race this season. Down the start-finish straight, top speed of around 262 kilometres an hour. As it stands at the moment, Pulcini and Hitez would take the title. They would take the title, even with Ralph Bond in between. There's the difference, just 3 points in it. Gilardone and Van Berlo, they'll take the victory if they hold on for the remaining 5 minutes. And they'll finish 3rd in the series, Joe Osborne and Nick Moss. They need to move up another couple of places, and to be perfectly blunt, and you don't want this in any sporting sense, but they need a disaster to befall car 63. It's unlikely to happen as Leonardo Pulcini ranges up behind Ralph Bond in the Herbert Motorsport, the number 92 Porsche Cup car. They ride up the hill. Pulcini has a little bit of a look down the inside. Thinks better of it. The championship is on the line. They will win the title if Osborne does not get by Cazzaniga. And Pulcini just stays there in position 6. There's Cipriani on your screen. Just ahead of the young Finnish driver making his debut in the GTOpen International Championship, the 20-year-old. That is Axel Blom. Racing all sorts of supercars in the very northern European Championships, the Northern European Zone GT Series. Pulcini down the inside, and Ralph gives him space. Can't quite do it, he'll be slow on the exit, surely. It'll be a lay down there, down into turn 1, gets the run. The flat 6 Porsche versus the screaming V10 of the Lamborghini from Bologna. Porsche's got good speed though. Not this time, as Pulcini flashes the lights, which is actually against the regulations, nevertheless. Ralph holds him off for another lap at least, another few corners. 3 minutes remaining. Pulcini and Hitez will take the title unless something happens. This will go down to the very final lap. There is Joe Osborne. What a drive from himself and Nick Moss, who started the race out of grid 21. They're up into position 4. Ralph Bon runs wide, surely an opportunity for Pulcini, who'll go down the inside right there into the left-hander, and the Italian up into P5, and that may all be she wrote. That will do it for Pulcini if he stays there. And if Osborne is now just 1 position ahead, they will take the title. Ralph Bon going in deep. The previous corner was slow on the exit. Leonardo, a super experienced GT and open wheel, a single-seater driver, lined him up down the inside into the left-hander, and Pulcini up to position 5. His teammate, Kevin Gilardoni, starting the race, was Glenn Van Berlo. They're still in first place. Oregon team would take the title back to Bologna for Lamborghini. Friedrich Schandorf and Michele Beretta winning for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing in 2021. The Raging Bull down through the chicane. This is Pulcini in position 5. 12 seconds overall behind his teammate. Pascal Bachmann in the car, which is a work of art. Nick Moss, nothing more he can do. And it looks as though he's starting to accept the fact that they will come up so short here in the series final of the GTOpen International Championship. Fabulous drive from both himself and Joe Osborne. Lines up Pascal Bachmann, who's running in P23 behind Erwin Zanotti, head of Stanislav Jedlinski, and Daniel Diaz Varela. Gilardoni, Sebastian Boll, give him credit as well, P2 in the race. The gap is 2.5 seconds between Kevin and Sebastian. Ricardo, position 3, and Joe in P4. So we're waiting for word from race control. We believe this is the penultimate lap of the race. No surprise and some consolation to know that Joe Osborne has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.129, an average speed just under 100 miles an hour. For all his fans watching on home in the King's England, in the United Kingdom, also for those watching in America, and the various other nations that refuse to embrace the metric system. For the rest of us, that's an average speed of 160 k's an hour, fastest lap of the race for the 72 McLaren, which is in position 4, and likely to just miss out on the title. At least 1 more lap, if not 2. Gilardoni across the line, the gap is 2.4 seconds. There's Sebastian Boll, the young French driver, a race winner in the French F4 series. Also racing in French at GT4 and the Ligia European LMP series as well. A great grounding for this, the GTOpen International Championship, and he's likely to put it on the podium here this afternoon. This is the final lap of the race, the final lap of the weekend, the final lap of 2022. Gilardoni almost inevitably, almost certainly will take the race winner. The title will go back to Lamborghini. Pulcini in position 5. There is nothing more that McLaren can do. They have driven brilliantly. The race of his life from Joe Osborne from grid 21 when his teammate Nick Moss started and came carving through the field. Joe Osborne will miss the podium and he'll miss the title by just a handful of points. Credit to Glenn Van Berlo, qualifying P3 this morning in qualifying, and his teammate Kevin Gilardoni, who will take it to the checkered flag. Car 19 down into 10 for the final time. Lamborghini winning the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. They will go 2 years in a row. Down through the chicane for the final time. From grid 3 on the grid. They led the championship earlier in the year. They won't take the title. They'll finish P3, but they'll finish 2022 with a victory. The checkered flag is about to wave. Kevin Gilardoni wins it for Oregon Team Lamborghini, and we wait. Sebastian Ball crosses the line. Ricardo Cazzaniga in the Porsche. In position 3, Leonardo Pulcini and Benjamin Hidez, the 2022 GTOpen International Champions. Wow, it came down to the very final lap. Lamborghini go 2 years in a row, and they've done it. Oh, take a breath. How good was that here in Barcelona? Joe Osborne with the race of his life. Oh boy, you bet he needs some fresh air after that. From grid 21, came charging through to finish in 4th place and missed the title by just a handful of points. An incredible finish to the GTOpen International Championship. As you look at the Pro-Am victors as well. Marcin Jedlinski across the line in position 13 together with Carol Bash. And they will take the Pro-Am title for 2022. Pulcini, Hidez have won it for Oregon Team Lamborghini. Alexander Hrwakowina brings the 25-man filter Team Landgraf Mercedes to the checkered flag. They've won the AM category together with Martin Conrad as well. They are the AM champions of GTOpen International for 2022. A fabulous finish to a fabulous series, the GTOpen International Championship. There are the Pro-Am champions, the graphic release. We just saw Marcin Jedlinski and Carol Bash. Great to have the support of the Poles. Here is the yellow machine, the Audi in the background. Almost identical engine. Incidentally has taken the title with Lamborghini outright and also in Pro-Am. Gilardoni takes it to the checkered flag, winning with Glenn Van Berlo. They win the final race of the season. Sebastian Ball and Steve Jans, second for Get Speed Performance. Klaus Backler, Ricardo Cazzaniga, a great weekend to finish 2022 in P3. Nick Moss, Joe Osborne, P4 from grid 21. Missed the title. The champions finish position 5. That will do it. Benja Hidez and Leonardo Pulcini win the GTOpen International Championship for 2022. Marcin Jedlinski, Carol Bash, P13 for Olymp Racing, the early race leaders, and they take the Pro-Am title. The championships, well, just 3 points in the end. Congratulations to the Chilean and the Italian, Benjamin Hidez, Leonardo Pulcini. Commiserations, also congratulations at the same time to the Brits, Joe Osborne and Nick Moss in second place. Here is the champion. Leo Pulcini pulls down into pit lane. Kevin Gilardoni, his teammate, celebrates. What a win, what a weekend, what a season. As the Raging Bull, we hear the thunderous sound of that V10 engine for the final time in 2022. Sebastian Ball brings the Get Speed Mercedes. Of course, Get Speed arriving here with 3 cars here this weekend. With the 6 different drivers for the German team. And he's come home in position 2. What tremendous scenes here in Barcelona. The Pirates have done it. Leonardo and Benjamin from Italy and Chile are the 2022 GTOpen International Champions. The title goes back to Bologna. Lamborghini go 2 years in a row. We'll try and get a word not only with the race winner, but with our new champions momentarily. Tremendous scenes down here in Parc Ferme, and a great crowd here in Barcelona for the season final as well.
Congratulations.
Pulcini crosses the line in position 5, 12 seconds behind his teammate. 5th place would do it. It was a nerve-wracking finish to 2022. Oregon team, which have been around since the 1990s, racing in all sorts of categories. Single mate categories, Renault Clio Cup, I should say, Formula Renault, single-seater as well. And Lamborghini take the title. Very timely, given the forthcoming Lamborghini World Finals to take place in Portimao in the first weekend of November. 3rd place here this afternoon, Ricardo Katzeniga and Klaus Backler for Dynamic Motorsport in the 24 Porsche. Steve Jans and Sebastian Boll, P2 for Get Speed Performance in one of 8 Mercedes here for the championship final. Glenn Van Berlo qualified grid 3, and it was his teammate Kevin Gilardoni who took it to the checkered flag to win the final race of 2022.
The last race win of the season is for Glenn Van Berlo and Kevin Gilardoni. Happy, although of course you would have wanted another result.
Yeah, it's obviously a double feeling. I mean, we are very happy with the win today. At the end, we knew it was going to be difficult coming into this race. Yesterday we had a few issues, so we couldn't win the race. Today we maximized it and we won the race, so I'm really happy with that. I think Oregon and Lamborghini did an amazing job being as competitive as they are this year for their first year in the GTOpen. Obviously, congrats to my teammate who did an amazing job winning the championship. Yeah, we finished the job today, so happy with the win and give it another go next year.
Yeah, in any case, a fantastic season for the Oregon team, for you and for your teammates. Kevin?
Yeah, as Glenn said, yesterday we lost the chance to win the title, so today our goal was to win the race and see what was happening behind us. So we won, and that's the main goal. So we are happy because it's our first season in the GT3 Championship, so Oregon won the team title and they won also the driver title. We finished there, so we are happy, but we would like to have more, so next year we will push for 2 steps more on the podium at the end of the season.
Well done, guys. Congrats.
Succes for the pilot van the Netherlands. Complimenti tantissime per l'italiano Kevin Gilardone, together with his Dutch teammate, Glenn Van Berlo. They win the final race of the season. Let's go down and hear from the champions, Leo Pulcini and Benjamin Hites, who are with Alfred Philip Uno.
And we have with us the champions, Leo Pulcini, Benja Hites. Benja, fantastic, eh?
Yeah, really the car worked really great all weekend. A big shout out to Lamborghini Squadra Corse and all my sponsors. And big thanks to my teammate that could at the end bring the car home, overtake some few cars for the points, and yeah, we're champions. So really happy, and this is for Chile. Thank you very much.
Leo, champion again with us. Euro Formula in the old times, and now you had a stressful stint. Huh?
Yeah. Unluckily, we went out from the pit behind the McLaren, and he had new tires, so I had to push like a hell to stay with him. But seems like GTOpen organization championships are good to me, so I'm very happy. I want to thank you, everyone in the team who work a lot morning to the night. Jerry Caneviso, Giorgio Testa, Lamborghini Squadra Corse. We are champions, so more to come next years.
Well done, guys. Un saludo a Chile, que nos sigue mucho.
I want to thank all the team of Oregon. They were mega all year, and I dedicate this title to my grandfather, Ershale.
Well done. Well done, guys. Champions.
The final race of the year got underway with Klaus Bachler from pole position, racing down into turn 1. Carol Bash in the Audi trying to take the outside, but the pole would slot into second place. Nick Moss having to start from back on grid 21, making his way up through the traffic. It was a difficult start for Adam Christodoulou, and soon the safety car was brought out with Alex Villanova in the gravel. Bachler again from the restart, establishing a lead of 1.2 seconds as the two McLarens almost came together, the two teammates in fact. Finlay Hutchinson and Michael Benyea. It was Michael behind the wheel. Nick Moss handing over to Joe Osborne, who would put in the drive of his life from grid 21 to go up inside the top 10, the top 5, ultimately finishing in 4th. Pulcini and Hites a slightly longer pit stop. They just had to stay within sight of Joe Osborne. Inside the top 10, they picked off. Firstly, the Herbert, the 33 Get-Speed Mercedes, Team GT Mercedes, and then the Herbert Porsche, and Joe was through into position 4. Pulcini followed him through though, and with that, that would be enough to take the title by just 3 points out front. Kevin Gilardone and Glenn Van Berlo, they would go on to take the final victory of 2022. Winning the race from Sebastian Boll in the 911 Mercedes and Cataniga for Dynamic Motorsport, the Porsche in P3. P5 for Pulcini across the line. 2016 Euro Formula Open champion with GT Sport, and now the GTOpen International champion for 2022. The final round of the year here in Barcelona. We will have all 3 podiums for you, the Pro category, the Pro-Am category, and the Am category. Martin Conrad and Alexander Hrakowina. They will take a victory in the green class. We call it that because that is the green graphic, which you may have been following throughout the timing all season. Outright, Ricardo Cataniga and Klaus Bachler in position 3. Sebastian Boll and Steve Jans, fabulous season. And they finished the season final in second place. Glenn Van Berlo, Kevin Gilardone win the final race of 2022, and with that finished 3rd in the championship. Oregon team take the title and the race win. And there's the reference. Yes, the Pirates have won it. The final podium, the final outright podium of 2022. Tremendous scenes here in Parc Ferme, and a great crowd here in Barcelona for the series final. Porsche, Mercedes and Lamborghini. 3rd, 2nd and 1st respectively on the podium for the final race of 2022. How good will 2023 be when we kick off in Portimao on the 29th and 30th of April down on the beautiful Algarve coast in the south of Portugal. That's the first round of the 2023 GTOpen International Championship, together with the GT Cup Series and Euro Formula in 2023. The future looks nothing but bright. Look at the crowd down there in Parc Ferme. Fabulous field, 26 cars on the grid. It is the season final as Kevin and Glenn stand on the top step for the last race of 2022. How fantastic to see Mr. Jesus Pereira, the president of GT Sports organisation, who have brought you this fantastic championship. a legendary driver in Group C sports cars in the 1970s, 80s and 90s himself, and now the president of GT Sport to present the winning trophy to Team Oricon. Just in time, Jesus escapes the champagne. So the first podium, first, second, third outright, and also first, second, third in the pro class. Grande Leo. Vamos Beña Hites, the Chilean, paying tribute to his home country in his post-race interview with Alfredo. The Pro-Am podium to now come. Adam, Rima, great to see them back smiling. They'll be standing on it in a moment after that monumental crash in the rain at the Red Bull Ring. The Pro-Am podium for the final race of 2022. What a comeback for Theba Motorsport from Saudi Arabia. Rima Jufali from the Kings England. Adam Christodoulou. They take third place here in Barcelona. Team GT in second place, Alain Valente and Florian Scholzer, the Swiss-German combination for Team GT in P2. The Germans in the German car, the German team, Ralph Bon and Robert Renoir, who did a fabulous job all weekend, win the Pro-Am category here in Barcelona in the season final.
Adam Christodoulou y Rima Jufali. Señor Luis Ramos, de Michelin Motores por España, entrega también los trofeos al segundo equipo clasificado, Alain Valente con Florian Scholz. Okay. Y el director circuito de Barcelona, Catalunya, senyor Josep Lluís Santa Maria, encarregat d'entregar el premi gros guanyadors d'aquest segon podi és la categoria de Pro-Am, Ralph Bon i Robert Renoir. Foto, vemos foto. Y ahora lo vamos a remojar con el Champagne Shower. Venga, va, Sonic. Arriba.
Rima runs for cover as Adam celebrates. Fabulous scenes here in Barcelona. One podium remaining here this afternoon. That is for the M category. And a debutant will stand on the podium in the final round here in Barcelona. Hard day's work, almost 30 degrees Celsius, as other parts of Europe are already under, well, let's just say the weather is not so good as it is here in Spain, let alone lest we forget Monza 3 weeks ago where it poured down rain. No chance of rain here in Spain for the season final. And finally, the AM podium here in Barcelona. Giuseppe Cipriani winning the title in 2021, relinquishing that title to the driver who have also won, the drivers who have also won the last race of the season. Axel Blom from Finland, what a debut in GTOpen International. Third place in the M category, together with Kiki Sagnana. Second place, Ecco Giuseppe Bravissimo Il Veneto. The Venetian in P2, and the new champions on the top step of the podium. They win it for men filter Team Landgraf, Martin Conrad and Alexander Ruakowina. Axel and Kiki from Finland and Thailand, respectively. It's a long way from the Thai Super Series for the Thai. Axel Blom from Finland, the other end of the planet. The Venetian P2, last year's champion, and the new champions who also win the final race of the season. Martin Conrad and Alexander Ruakowina win here in Barcelona. Actually finishing all together on the circuit 17th, 18th and 19th in the final race of the series. And with that, the championship is done. It has been a brilliant finish to a brilliant season. George Morgan, on behalf of myself, it has been a pleasure. Quite simply, I'll say I cannot wait for 2023.
No, you're absolutely right. And we'll see you next season, folks. 2023 is next around the corner.